Some of the big highlights of this year's Edinburgh International Festival have involved partnerships with the University of Edinburgh in some form or other. I think one of the very special ones was the collaboration with St Cecilia's, where we used some of the extraordinary collection of musical instruments there are there, and it's a genuinely world-class collection. We not only did a couple of concerts in the collection with one of the world's great harpsichordists, but also the university allowed one out. We actually took one into the Queen's Hall as part of our regular Queen's Hall recital series, so even more people could hear it. So I have to tell you, the logistics and the insurance issues around that were rather exciting, but it was a really special occasion. I think that was one of the really wonderful things.
It's now really one of the most important collections in the world, and the very special thing here is that many instruments are playable, which is not always the case everywhere in the museums around the world. So it makes really a good image of harpsichord for people who come here, or even for harpsichordists to play on them. Really, when I entered the room last time, I had the impression to come in a pastry shop and have all these fantastic instruments in my disposal, so I could taste all of them.
One of my favourites, which unfortunately is sold out already, is an independence debate, which is chaired by Kirsty Walk and featuring some major thinkers from Scotland. One of the key things that we worked on with Charlie Jeffrey and others from the University of Edinburgh is this notion that the book festival can be a place for debate where politicians' voices are not necessarily the only voices we hear. So this is a debate which we're describing as a voice of the people debate, and we hope that some politicians will come along and listen. I'm really excited about a couple of events that Professor Ian Deary is chairing. One is a writer called John Killick, who's written a book about dementia, and the other is an MIT professor called Suzanne Colkin, who's been involved in an extraordinary study of a man who was the subject of an experiment in the 1950s, and the experiment went wrong. And so out of this disaster and this personal tragedy has come a huge amount of learning about the nature of neuroscience and the way in which we build memories. And so I think Ian Deary brings his own knowledge of cognitive sciences to what I think will be an absolutely extraordinary discussion.
Another personal highlight for me was the Namjoon Pike exhibition with the Talbot Rice Gallery. And Namjoon Pike was an extraordinary pioneer of video work, really, and using television and video in art in the 60s and 70s. And the work is still incredibly dynamic, very relevant. He was a real pioneer of all of that stuff. And putting it into the Talbot Rice, into that wonderful classical space with all this very playful experimenting with video and television images, was actually a really special thing. And I think it was a really wonderful description of what happens in Edinburgh as well, that mixture of old and new.
We're building on our links with Edinburgh University. This year we are working with the Al Walid Centre to bring down an imam and a rector from Aberdeen who are sharing a worship space to talk about how Muslims and Christians can interact together in a peaceful and productive manner. We're also working with Edinburgh Chaplaincy, who are bringing across Soweto Melodic Voices, who are a choir of young adults who sing to raise awareness and money for HIV and AIDS in Africa. We have an art exhibition with the Divinity College looking at Insight of Peace, and they've got a fantastic exhibition from Ian Berry who looks at democracy in South Africa from apartheid to modern days.
One of the very important things about our collaboration with the University of Edinburgh is this festival, the Edinburgh International Festival, is very much about world-class performance. We choose all of our artists and companies. There is a curation process, and there's a very rigorous thought process behind what we do. And I think there's a very close association there with the University of Edinburgh. So I think it's very important that we work as partners in that way. We've had a large number of events this year, which have been talks and lectures and discussions around some of the ideas and philosophies and histories that sit behind the festival. And there's this wonderful resource on our doorstep, which is University of Edinburgh, and it's a very good partnership with both major international institutions looking to maintain the best possible international standards. So in every way, whether it's using the university's venues or whether it's working with university staff, I think that's a very important collaboration.
Over the years we've worked with the University of Edinburgh very closely, many years. And I mean, the cornerstone of our relationship, I suppose, is the James Tate Black Prize, which is the world's oldest literary prize. We're very proud of that. But I think having Edinburgh University as a partner allows us to stretch ourselves, because it allows us to look into areas which might otherwise appear to be sort of arcane areas of academic study, and to bring them out into the open and to realise just how much academic study has an impact on everyday life. The book festival and the festivals more generally couldn't happen without Edinburgh University, and I think Edinburgh's university would be very different without the festival. So it's really a symbiotic relationship. There's a dialogue between the two, and the book festival is a public manifestation of big ideas, and in that sense it's both a way for people to learn, and it's also a kind of public forum for democracy of the type that is quite rare these days. And so I think that relationship between the university and the book festival is absolutely fundamental to the book festival's success.
Working with the Edinburgh University allows us to celebrate the local work and peacemaking that's happening in Edinburgh, and the amazing knowledge and capacity that Edinburgh has as a city. It's such a great positive space to explore all the work that's being done.
I hope that the Edinburgh International Festival enables the university to maybe come in at subjects from a slightly different direction. I mean, we are about live performance primarily. So I think there's all sorts of connections which are really important for the university. And I hope that over the years we'll be able to develop that association more and more. There are some informal associations at the moment. I personally go and talk to some of the MBA courses and things like that at the university. So I hope that around the year we'll be able to develop more of that work as well, so that the student body is getting some genuine input from what's happening, not just at festival time.